Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A dense crowd of people. To be oppressive or burdensome. Something pressed on his mind. The print media responsible for gathering and publishing news in the form of newspapers or magazines. The act of pressing, the exertion of pressure. He gave the button a press. Make strenuous pushing movements during birth to expel the baby. The state of demanding notice or attention. The press of business matters. A tall piece of furniture that provides storage space for clothes, has a door and rails or hooks for hanging clothes. A machine used for printing. Lift weights. This guy can press 300 pounds. Force or impel in an indicated direction. Squeeze or press together. She compressed her lips. A weight lift in which the barbell is lifted to shoulder height and then smoothly lifted overhead. Press and smooth with a heated iron. Press your shirts. Exert oneself continuously, vigorously, or obtrusively to gain an end or engage in a crusade for a certain cause or person. Be an advocate for. Press from a plastic. Press a record. Any machine that exerts pressure to form or shape or cut materials or extract liquids or compress solids. Ask for or request earnestly. Be urgent. This is a pressing problem. Clamp to prevent wooden rackets from warping when not in use. Create by pressing. Crowd closely. The crowds pressed along the street. Exert pressure or force to or upon. He pressed down on the boards. Place between two surfaces and apply weight or pressure. Pressed flowers. Temporary love of an adolescent. Come down on or keep down by unjust use of one's authority. Come out better in a competition, race, or conflict. A dense crowd of people. To compress with violence, out of natural shape or condition. Crush an aluminum can. Make ineffective. The act of crushing. Leather that has had its grain pattern accentuated. Humiliate or depress completely. She was crushed by his refusal of her invitation. Crush or bruise. Become injured, broken, or distorted by pressure. The plastic bottle crushed against the wall. Break into small pieces. The car crushed the toy. Informal terms for a difficult situation. A dense crowd of people. Deliberate radiation or reflection of electromagnetic energy for the purpose of disrupting enemy use of electronic devices or systems. Block passage through. Press tightly together or cram. Interfere with or prevent the reception of signals. Crush or bruise. Jam a toe. Crowd or pack to capacity. The theater was jam-packed. Get stuck and immobilized. The mechanism jammed. Preserve of crushed fruit. Push down forcibly. The driver jammed the brake pedal to the floor. Show consideration for, take into account. To be oppressive or burdensome. Weigh heavily on the mind. Determine the weight of. The butcher weighed the chicken. Have weight. Have import, carry weight. Have a certain weight. The print media responsible for gathering and publishing news in the form of newspapers or magazines. Compelling immediate action. Too pressing to permit of longer delay. The act of pressing, the exertion of pressure. At the pressing of a button. A metal or plastic part that is made by a mechanical press. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. The act of pressing, the exertion of pressure. He used pressure to stop the bleeding. The pressure exerted by the atmosphere. Exert pressure on someone through threats. The state of demanding notice or attention. The force applied to a unit area of surface, measured in pascals SI unit, or in dynes, CGS unit. The compressed gas exerts an increased pressure. The somatic sensation that results from applying force to an area of skin. The sensitivity of his skin to pressure and temperature was normal. A force that compels. The public brought pressure to bear on the government. An oppressive condition of physical or mental or social or economic distress. Press, drive, or impel someone to action or completion of an action. He pushed her to finish her doctorate. The act of applying force in order to move something away. He gave the door a hard push. Make strenuous pushing movements during birth to expel the baby. Now push hard, said the doctor to the woman. An electrical switch operated by pressing. The elevator was operated by push buttons. Move with force. He pushed the table into a corner. Strive and make an effort to reach a goal. We have to push a little to make the deadline. Make publicity for, try to sell, a product. The salesman is aggressively pushing the new computer model. Approach a certain age or speed. She is pushing 50. The force used in pushing. The push of the water on the walls of the tank. Exert oneself continuously, vigorously, or obtrusively to gain an end or engage in a crusade for a certain cause or person. Be an advocate for. The Liberal Party pushed for reforms. Enterprising or ambitious drive. An effort to advance. The army made a push toward the sea. Move strenuously and with effort. The crowd pushed forward. Press against forcefully without moving. She pushed against the wall with all her strength. Sell or promote the sale of illegal goods such as drugs. The guy hanging around the school is pushing drugs. The state of demanding notice or attention. The quality of being insistent. Continual and persistent demands. The act of insisting on something. Insistence on grammatical correctness as a conservative position. The state of demanding notice or attention. The insistence of their hunger. The act of insisting on something. The state of demanding notice or attention. A small room, or recess, or cabinet used for storage space. A tall piece of furniture that provides storage space for clothes. Has a door and rails or hooks for hanging clothes. A toilet in Britain. A small private room for study or prayer. Confined to a small space, as for intensive work. A tall piece of furniture that provides storage space for clothes. Has a door and rails or hooks for hanging clothes. Collection of clothing belonging to one person. Collection of costumes belonging to a theatrical company. A machine used for printing. Lift weights. Lift weights. Bodybuilding by exercise that involves lifting weights. Force or impel in an indicated direction. Spur on or encourage, especially by cheers and shouts. An instinctive motive. Force or impel in an indicated direction. I urged him to finish his studies. Push for something. Spur on or encourage, especially by cheers and shouts. A strong restless desire. Why this urge to travel? Force or impel in an indicated direction. Spur on or encourage, especially by cheers and shouts. Briefly giving the gist of something. A compact style is brief and pithy. A signed written agreement between two or more parties, nations, to perform some action. A small cosmetics case with a mirror, to be carried in a woman's purse. A small and economical car. Having a short and solid form or stature. A wrestler of compact build. Make more compact by or as if by pressing. Compress into a wad. Squeeze or press together. Have the property of being packable or of compacting easily. This powder compacts easily. Closely and firmly united or packed together. Compact soil. Make more compact by or as if by pressing. Compress the data. Squeeze or press together. She compressed her lips. A cloth pad or dressing, with or without medication, applied firmly to some part of the body, to relieve discomfort or reduce fever. Become tight or as if tight. Her throat constricted. Squeeze or press together. Become smaller or draw together. Enter into a contractual arrangement. Reduce in scope while retaining essential elements. Contract bridge. The highest bid becomes the contract setting the number of tricks that the bidder must make. Make or become more narrow or restricted. A variety of bridge in which the bidder receives points toward game only for the number of tricks he bid. Compress or concentrate. Engage by written agreement. Squeeze or press together. The spasm contracted the muscle. Be stricken by an illness, fall victim to an illness. A binding agreement between two or more persons that is enforceable by law. Make smaller. The heat contracted the woolen garment. To compress with violence, out of natural shape or condition. Squeeze a lemon. An aggressive attempt to compel acquiescence by the concentration or manipulation of power. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. He squeezed her for information. A twisting squeeze. A state in which there is a short supply of cash to lend to businesses and consumers and interest rates are high. A tight or amorous embrace. Squeeze like a wedge into a tight space. I squeezed myself into the corner. Squeeze or press together. The act of gripping and pressing firmly. He gave her cheek a playful squeeze. Hold someone tightly in your arms, usually with fondness. Obtain by coercion or intimidation. They squeezed money from the owner of the business by threatening him. Press or force. Squeeze tightly between the fingers. She squeezed the bottle. A situation in which increased costs cannot be passed on to the customer. Increased expenses put a squeeze on profits. Press firmly. He squeezed my hand. Slang. A person's girlfriend or boyfriend. She was his main squeeze. The act of forcing yourself, or being forced, into or through a restricted space. Getting through that small opening was a tight squeeze. A weight lift in which the barbell is lifted to shoulder height and then smoothly lifted overhead. Home appliance consisting of a flat metal base that is heated and used to smooth cloth. A heavy ductile magnetic metallic element. Is silver white in pure form but readily rusts. Used in construction and tools and armament. Plays a role in the transport of oxygen by the blood. Extremely robust. An iron constitution. Press and smooth with a heated iron. She stood there ironing. Implement used to brand livestock. A golf club that has a relatively narrow metal head. Settle or put right. We need to iron out our disagreements. Press and smooth with a heated iron. Change the arrangement or position of. Move or cause to move back and forth. Cause to be agitated, excited, or roused. Try to stir up public opinion. Exert oneself continuously, vigorously, or obtrusively to gain an end or engage in a crusade for a certain cause or person. Be an advocate for. Move very slightly. Several related operations aimed at achieving a particular goal, usually within geographical and temporal constraints. Go on a campaign. Go off to war. Run, stand, or compete for an office or a position. A race between candidates for elective office. I managed his campaign for governor. An overland journey by hunters, especially in Africa. Exert oneself continuously, vigorously, or obtrusively to gain an end or engage in a crusade for a certain cause or person. Be an advocate for. A series of actions advancing a principle or tending toward a particular end. He supported populist campaigns. Exert oneself continuously, vigorously, or obtrusively to gain an end or engage in a crusade for a certain cause or person. Be an advocate for. A series of actions advancing a principle or tending toward a particular end. Any of the more or less continuous military expeditions in the 11th to 13th centuries when Christian powers of Europe tried to recapture the Holy Land from the Muslims. Go on a crusade. Fight a holy war. Be engaged in a fight. Carry on a fight. Siblings are always fighting. A hostile meeting of opposing military forces in the course of a war. Make a strenuous or labored effort. The act of fighting, any contest or struggle. A fight broke out at the hockey game. Exert oneself continuously, vigorously, or obtrusively to gain an end or engage in a crusade for a certain cause or person. Be an advocate for. Fight against or resist strongly. Don't fight it. An aggressive willingness to compete. The team was full of fight. A boxing or wrestling match. The fight was on television last night. An intense verbal dispute. A violent fight over the bill is expected in the Senate.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.